Hello, everybody, and welcome back to SkyWatchTV. I'm Nita Horn. If you saw last week's program, then you know it's finally here after 3 years of production. Rescue Us, the 6-DVD docuseries, is done. Go back to the archives. What a dynamite program, and it really demonstrates the heartbeat of what the Rescue Us series is. Let me read to you the subtitle, and then I'm going to introduce who's here today. Waging war on a malevolent industry that is systematically destroying innocence. And I can tell you from experience over the last nearly 3 years that we've been in production on this series, it has felt like we waged a war, Derek. This was the most difficult production that we've ever put forth at Defender Investigative Films.
I know something about video editing, and some of the problems that you have are just nothing I have ever run into, ever.
I don't think anyone has, unless they've done something to advocate for children and have upset the dark forces that absolutely hate God's most precious gift to us, our children. And I'm telling you, this ministry, the people that worked on this, the circumstances with the software, we barely touched it last week. Just a very difficult project to get finished. It was unprecedented in the number of technical glitches we experienced, the delays, the setbacks, the anomalistic things with exports. But by the grace of God, I have to give him credit. Nobody worked on this series harder than my first guest today. She's the lead director of the Rescue Us docuseries, Brittany Jackson. And also somebody very important to the series, and we're going to talk with her in just a moment. She's the visionary and founder of the Whispering Ponies Ranch, Nita Horn. We're going to talk to you in just a moment, Nita, but first, Brittany, I mean it when I say nobody worked harder on this series than you did. I think you have more physical hours in production than I do. And believe me, I watched all of it at least 16 times to proof all 6.5 hours. There were times I was trying to sleep at night and the theme song to the series is looping in my brain. I think for me, and I think the viewers that watch this series are going to find that episode 4 is a big highlight. It is basically like a true Hollywood story that captures both my father, the late Dr. Thomas Horn, from childhood, and my mother, Nita Horn, from childhood through their teen years. Now they're meeting, now they're married, now they're in ministry as young people, and how God just kind of continued to open up doors for them in ministry. And then eventually, episodes 5 goes into Whispering Ponies Ranch, the therapeutic work that's being done to intervene for these children that we're talking about all through the series. For those that aren't familiar, go back to last week. We talk about the blind spots in the foster care system where people are predatorily taking advantage and exploiting the children in the foster care system. Not that everybody in that system are a part of the bad guy team. We've got some wonderful people that are there doing ministry in the foster care system because they love children. But there are those who are using it to exploit the blind spots for their own malevolent uses and gains, treating children like less than animals for their own perverse desires. And so the Rescue Us series really wages war on that industry, but forced sexual prostitution, the missing children at the border, critical race theory, the normalization of pedophilia in the classroom. We come after this thing, this multi-tentacled Luciferian assault on our children from many, many angles. And then we take the second half of the series to inform the viewer as to what they can do to help us fight back, raise awareness for these children, and be a voice for them because they have no voice. You worked very closely with Tom and Nita to tell their story in episode 4, right?
Yeah, so Nita, I was probably blowing up her phone as soon as I took over the project, asking her, do you have a photo that matches what you guys are talking about here? And me and my husband, Dakota, actually went to her house and went through huge boxes of pictures, like 7 boxes. She's, trying to find anything she can to help me. And in episode 4, they actually get into how their house actually burned down. And so
2011, they lost everything.
Yeah, so some pictures we had to go into Photoshop and try to make them somewhat viewable. You could actually smell the fire still on a lot of the pictures.
Yeah.
And so my office kind of smelled like a fire for a few weeks going through all these pictures.
And I was amazed at what you found because some of them I had no memory of. These are pictures like when they're 13 and they're on a date in one of those photo booths where it takes like 4 pictures, silly stuff. When you watch the Rescue Us series, if you love my parents, you're going to see them in a light that you've never seen before. None of the excerpts we've dripped out in the past does any justice at all. We are so limited on time. I'm going to jump over here very quickly. Nita, I know that there was an emotional toll for you during this process. You know, you had to relive a lot of heartache, talking about your little sister Althea, losing her and your father in a fatal car accident. But the series also highlights a lot of funny moments, you know, meeting my father, Tom, and becoming young pastors and so forth. What was it like to have to relive some of that in this series and then watch it at the end?
Well, like Brittany said, there were many moments where she would call and say, do you have anything to support this little piece of what we're doing? Some of those memories were fun. Some of them we laughed at. The day that we were looking through the pictures, there were times I had to just give her the picture. I ended up sending most of it home with her, just take it and take what you want. If you need explanations, let me know. But it was very, very difficult, and especially with the passing of Tom as well.
Yeah.
It got harder
Yeah,
to work on the project after that. There were funny moments, though. One of my favorite memories was whenever the 700 Club came out and did a little spotlight on Tom in regards to his pastoring. And the whole idea was how he and I were helping young marrieds. And so we had to reenact some of our days before we found salvation. And they wanted us to enact this one scene, and I had to find a baby that would represent Allie, our oldest, as in diapers. And it just so happened I was doing daycare to supplement our income while we were there. I had a little 6-month-old girl, and the parents gave me permission to use it. Anyway, it was too cute because we had to reenact the whole thing, and it was... It was funny. I'm standing there shaking my head, and he's wailing at me, and it was a fight we were reenacting.
But we included that in the series, so
Yeah.
you'll actually get to see this 1984 segment of our whole family that the 700 Club traveled out to tape when my dad was a rising pastor. It's something else. You can see Donna Howell. She's got to be, what, 4?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
she
she
was
was a
like
Or
little
maybe, no,
three.
2 or 3.
She was little
Yeah, I was
bitty.
4 or 5. Anyway,
Yeah.
again, you're going to see my parents featured in this series like never before. In fact, here's a taste of just one of these excerpts. Watch this.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Thomas Horn.
We kind of put our neck out there on the chopping block. We're going to be meeting with the Jesuit. So what I want to talk to you about is the coming technological singularity. I want to talk to you about transhumanism. This generation is being sold into something, ladies and gentlemen, and it is not going to end well.
Tom Horn is one of the more interesting theological interpreters of transhumanism in the country, although I'm pretty sure he's crazy.
Best-selling author Dr. Thomas Horn shocks the entire world in an unprecedented prediction that identifies precisely, down to the month, Pope Benedict's official resignation 1 year before it happened, leaving people amazed at who his insiders at the Vatican might be, as a pope has not officially resigned in over 600 years.
Pope Benedict had actually stepped down in April 2012, did it secretly, privately. Most of the cardinals didn't even know about it. There is an evil, unclean, demonic spirit that would like to take America down the tubes, destroy the idea of this great capitalistic country that took the gospel to the four corners of the world.
Tom Horn is back in the news again at Wired magazine, addressing the coming human enhancement revolution.
CEO of SkyWatchTV stirs massive controversy with dire warning for America.
Groundbreaking author and paradigm-shifting theologian.
Every knee is going to bow and every tongue is going to confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Biblical prophecy, the supernatural, occultism. This guy is exposing things left and right.
If we are going to stop the path that we're on, we better do it now. We may be the last generation and the last hope. And even giant six-fingered and six-toed footprints in pursuit of much smaller five-fingered and five-toed humans. Are we opening a door that was opened once before that God slammed shut? And is it the fulfillment of prophecy, Matthew 24:37?
Dr. Thomas Horn breaks the internet again with startling new documentary film, Silent Cry, The Darker Side of Trafficking.
Founders of Whispering Ponies Ranch, Thomas and Nita Horn, break ground, expanding on what has been described by experts in child advocacy as an oasis where children who have suffered catastrophic abuse can find rest, rehabilitation, and hope through their faith in Jesus Christ.
We are ministering to children whose nightmares are real. For them, it is a miracle. They've never seen anything like the changes in these children's life that occur at Whispering Ponies Ranch.
Whispering Ponies Ranch, where lost and hurting children come to the theater of the outdoors and experience God's love, hope, rehabilitation, and an introduction to His Son, Jesus Christ. The founders of Whispering Ponies Ranch join us right now. He's a multi-time critically acclaimed best-selling author and CEO of SkyWatch Television, co-founder of Whispering Ponies Ranch, Dr. Thomas Horn. Her ministerial career has spanned for more than 45 years. She's the visionary and founder of Whispering Ponies Ranch, Nita Horn.
When they think of just a random week in the summer, they try to think of fun vacations. For a foster kid,
For sure.
this is the first time that they have been told that they're beautiful or that they're handsome or that they are loved, and it's actually shown. And my first week at camp that Friday came, and I was sad to go home because I didn't know if I was ever going to see these people again.
But by the time they leave, some of these kids have scaled the rock wall. Some of them have driven ponies. Some of them have found something, like a rock in their life that they can come back to and hold on to. And Samantha is a testimony to that. And it may not be every little child, but I want them all. I'll claim them all. But I'll take what I can get.
I had this moment where I send this little boy down the zip, and as he's going down, I'm thinking, that's probably the last time I'm ever going to zip this kid. I don't know if I'll ever see him again.
Pretty heavy when you think that someday at the judgment seat of Christ, we are going to be judged on whether or not we did these interpersonal things to the least of these my little ones. And Wayne, it doesn't get any least of these my little ones than when you're talking about these damaged children. So Anita wants me to take this mail down and mail it for her, so I got to run and do that. Of course, AMHR, the American Miniature Horse Registry, no surprise there. Let's see, I should probably see if Nita wants to go with me. You going with me? Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. I'm going to run your mail down to the post office, and we got to run up to the farm, check in on how the train is coming along with the horn installation. Also some animatronics down there that Dennis is working on for Pony Gulch. So I see you looking at my office bric-a-brac and antiques and stuff, but do you know why I have this little shoe shine box? Because that was my very first company I started when I was probably 9 years old. And I would go down to the main street in El Mirage, Arizona, and get in front of the restaurants and stuff and sit there and shine shoes for, I forget what it was, maybe a nickel or something. That was my very first company, Tom Horn, the entrepreneur, shoe shine Superboy.
This is another Don Francisco song. It's called Holy Roll. And these are much better when there's someone singing. Since all the kids are in school, I'm by myself today. It's been years, Joe. After a few years, Tom and I were married, and he decided he was called into the ministry. He worked hard at home. He worked nights and did his schooling in the morning with the Berean school and got his license to preach and to be a minister. Our very first pastorate was a small little home missions church. There were 8 people there the day that we went to preach. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, these people aren't going to want us to stay because we were kind of young. But you know what? Everybody that was there cheered us on. They unanimously voted us in, and we were very happy and proud to take that pastorate. And we were there for about 2 years, I think, a year and a half maybe. And then we ended up going to our next adventure.
It's the 700 Club. If statistics are correct, more than half of the nation's marriages will be devastated by divorce. Still, there are survivors, like Tom and Nita Horn. Tom's marriage was so completely changed by the Lord that he had a deep desire to work with other families in the area of family and marriage counseling. Presently an associate pastor at Landmark Christian Center in Downey, California, Tom helps young married couples establish their marriage relationships.
He can take a situation where you absolutely have nothing in your heart for each other whatsoever, and if you'll submit to him and at least try in any degree, he can take your marriage and he can turn it around and he can make it the loveliest part of your life that you've ever experienced between 2 people.
My mom is precious, and so much of the opportunity that we as a family have, so much of what we have, is a result of her being obedient to the Lord, spending time in prayer and having a keen instinct about what He's put on her heart. And she'll reveal this to my father, they will talk together, and he's actually learned over decades to listen when my mom is speaking, because often therein is the next step in the journey, if that makes sense. And I watched my mom growing up repeatedly this fascination with horses, and she would try to manifest some reality where she's got a little home and maybe a fence, and she's got a horse, and it would come to pass for just a short season, and she would get herself a horse, and they would have a little acre, my mom and dad. But then my father would get called once again back into ministry. We're talking about big tent revivals.
We decided that evangelism was something that we wanted to do because we felt like we wanted to tell everybody about our life with God and how He had changed our lives. And so we would go hold revivals.
It's the blood that gives me strength from day.
For any church that would have us come, and we actually were booked down a year in advance.
We're talking about the 70s and 80s where people would be traveling evangelists, and so she's back on the road again. And they're out, very young people now, they're evangelizing for the Lord.
It's in the hands of men and women just like you and I. And folks, I'm going to tell you something, and you hear me, because this is a prophecy. If America does not wake up and teach its children to read, and teach its children to write, and teach its children to think, but most especially teach its children to pray and to honor God, we will have a dictator in this country in less than 50 years. I prophesy it will come to pass. I'm a student of history, and I see the progress that we're making towards dictatorship here in the United States of America. If you want a great America, be a great person. But if you want a godly America, then be a godly person. And when the doors to God's house is open on Sunday, get in here. Because when you come in here, it is a vote for responsibility and righteousness to rule in America. It says, God is number one in my life. He's not my last hope.
And after about 2 or 3 months into that first year, because Tom, when he would preach, he was a very avid preacher, and his voice would start to give out on him.
Archaeology proves daily that the Word of God is historically accurate. The manifestation of miraculous power proves daily that the Word of God is supernatural. And the fulfillment of prophecy proves daily that its words was divinely originated. God is its author. It is a non-debatable fact. And its lessons and its precepts and its truth must be adhered to by all of mankind.
And so after 3 or 4 different revivals that we would hold, the pastor would have to finish out the week because Tom had no voice. We thought, okay, this is not the one. What it was with his voice giving out, we continued to pray, if this is what we were supposed to be doing, then strengthen his voice. But the further down the road we got, the harder it was for him to stay in that field of evangelism because he just couldn't, his voice would not hold up. Plus, not only that, I had a second child was born, our son Joe, and then I was pregnant with our third one. And I, as a mom, was feeling this very, very domesticated, I need to raise my children. They need a home. They can't be in a travel trailer every week. And we both started to feel like, okay, we need to settle down and really hone in on what we're supposed to do.
And often it meant that we would have to sell a home or that she would have to rehome a horse or move on. And now she's traveling again. And then a couple years later, she would do what she dreamed of doing for multiple decades, where she would hang her skillet. She was always talking about hanging her skillet, getting herself some horses, and that dream would come full circle again, but only for just a short stint. And once again, called back into ministry, and she would have to surrender that yet again to be faithful and obedient to what God was calling her and my father to do.
So at that time, we took a few months to rest at some friends of ours' house, which we call Grandma and Grandpa Fuller. They allowed us to stay with them for 2 or 3 months while we were able to kind of regain our footing. And they helped us pray as to what direction we should take. And so we decided we would go back to pastoring. And that way we could stay in one place.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we need the grassroots support of our SkyWatchTV family to help us get the Rescue Us series out to as many people as we possibly can. This information is being suppressed, deleted, deplatformed, taken down, and is way too sobering for most network television outlets. We need you to get involved. We need you to join us in the efforts to get this series in front of your friends, your pastors, people of influence in government, your communities, anybody and everybody. Help us share this series not only to illuminate the many, many ways that we're losing an entire generation of children to intolerable darkness, but also to assist in the raising of an army of God's people willing to stand in the gap for them. The Rescue Us series shows the viewer what can be done by absolutely anybody willing to say, yes, Lord, I will answer the call. I will intervene for those who have no voice and for those who desperately need help. And that's why right now we're asking you to stand with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're proud to introduce the Rescue Us special offer. For your donation of only $49.99, you'll not only receive a copy of the entire 6-DVD docuseries Rescue Us that uncovers the massive crisis destroying an entire generation of youth, all while challenging each one of us to rise up for our nation's most vulnerable and break the cycle of abuse. But you'll also receive the brand new documentary, Rescued, Samantha's Story, where Samantha Orr personally takes you through her nightmarish childhood of unthinkable trauma and abuse to her total restoration in the arms of Jesus Christ. But friends, that's not all. Right now, while supplies last, we're also including in this special opportunity the 4-hour audio series on disc, The Hidden Occultism of Epstein's Orgy Island by the late Dr. Thomas Horn. Silent Cry, The Darker Side of Trafficking, featuring Yaku Bouillons, Ilanka Deaton, Dr. Thomas Horn, and others. And the major motion picture movie, Camp, on DVD, that showcases what God can do in the life of a child desperate in need of rescuing through ministries like Royal Family Kids and is inspired by true events. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of $200. Yours now for your donation of only $49.99, which includes free shipping to all U.S. orders. But ladies and gentlemen, we are so committed to this message reaching as many viewers as is humanly possible that we want to equip you, our grassroots army of SkyWatchTV friends and family members, with an opportunity to partner with us like never before. Join us in spreading this invaluable message through the Rescue Us Partner Pack, where you'll receive 5 copies of each of the items we just mentioned for your donation of only $165. That's right, when you order the special Rescue Us Partner Pack, you'll receive 5 copies of the entire 6-DVD docuseries Rescue Us, 5 copies of Rescued, Samantha's story, 5 copies of The Hidden Occultism of Epstein's Orgy Island, 5 copies of Silent Cry, The Darker Side of Trafficking, and 5 copies of the major motion picture movie Camp on DVD. This massive collection of documentaries, audio series, and movies holds a retail value of $1,000. Yours now for your donation of only $165. With 5 complete copies of everything in the collection, that allows you to keep 1 for you and your family and 4 entire sets to share with people that you believe will also be inspired to stand up in defense of God's greatest gift to us, our children. Remember, your donation helps SkyWatchTV continue to get this important message to the 4 corners of the world. You can also stream the entire Rescue Us series and or Samantha's story right now at skywatchtvstore.com/stream. So act quickly. You can scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your phone for instant access to this special opportunity. Visit us at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985 and ask for the Rescue Us special offer or the Rescue Us Partner Pack right now. Take advantage of this special opportunities. And I want to tease next week because we have a very special guest that's going to be joining us again. She's here today. She's the survivor of one of the most extreme cases of child abuse in Missouri state history. And she shared her story in what now resides on this DVD, Rescued, Samantha's story. Ladies and gentlemen, Samantha Orr. Samantha, we appreciate you taking the time to tell your incredible testimony and sharing it. It is all throughout the Rescue Us series. It also resides as a standalone documentary on this DVD. We don't have time to do it justice today, so it's going to have to wait till next week. But ladies and gentlemen, return. It's not an episode you're going to want to miss. We're going to continue the discussion around Rescue Us, waging war on a malevolent industry that is systematically destroying innocence. For everybody here in studio, everybody on panel, thank you for joining us. I'm Joe Artis Horn. Keep your eyes on the prize, which is Jesus Christ. We'll be back.